Hey gang, Craig Ripley here. Welcome once again to Living Off the Slab. So today, this is going to be video number 3 in our series of debriefs from the Alaska trip. And today what I want to talk about is some of our gear, the riding gear in particular, because I've had a lot of questions on how the climb gear did on this extended trip. Now, if you've been following along on our trip, you know that the jacket that I used was the Klim Latitude Misano jacket. I've had this jacket for, well, about 3 years now, and it's worked out really great for me. It has plenty of ventilation in it. It is 100% waterproof, and everything on the jacket has, worked pretty well over the last 3 years. Don't have a lot of huge complaints. A couple of things that I'll talk about here in a minute, but overall this jacket has done a great job. Now, the primary reason that I bought this jacket is because it is 100% waterproof, right? It's Gore-Tex lined and guaranteed for the lifetime of the product. So if it ever does leak, Klim and Gore-Tex will replace it for you. On this trip, we did have several days where we had rain, and a couple of those days it was almost all day long and we got pretty soaked. But this jacket never leaked, not one drop. Even around my collar, I just cinched the collar down and never got any rain down the back of my neck or anything. Now, Peter, on the other hand, did have some issues where he was getting some rain in through his chest. And I think that what was happening there is that his flaps here, his Velcro flaps, were coming undone, because if you open this jacket up, you'll see that there are a couple of rain gutters here in the jacket, and then you've got your zipper down inside, and that zipper is not waterproof, right? You must have these rain gutters closed, or that zipper can leak a little bit of rain inside the jacket. So from what Peter was telling me, what was happening is he was getting a lot of wind in his chest because he has a short windshield there, and it was opening these gutters here and allowing some rain to get in through that zipper. Now, I didn't have any of that problem. I guess I have a bigger shield. It was keeping most of the air, off of my chest, most of the wind off of my chest. So mine stayed closed all the time, and again, I never had any problem. The thing that can happen with these jackets that might cause those rain gutters to open is that these pull tabs on these front pockets, they can get caught underneath here on the Velcro like this, and then the Velcro won't stick here for the rain gutter, and then the wind can come in behind it and kind of throw those things open. So you do have to be careful as far as that goes. I've had that happen a few times with me, and again, I just make sure that that doesn't get stuck in there underneath the Velcro, so it might keep those rain gutters from closing. Now, another thing that can happen, and did happen to me while we were on this trip, is that if you have a real soaking rain where it's just going on all day long, the Cordura outer layer of the jacket can get saturated, and it does get rather heavy in that case. The water never goes through and gets to you, but it does get into the outer layer, and like I said, does get a bit heavy. And if this layer does get saturated and it's cool out, like we had some temperatures in the 50s while it was raining, well, then the wind chill factor can get down, around 30, 35 degrees or so. So you'll need to have a mid layer on in those cases, right? And I made sure that I did that. I had at least one mid layer on. Sometimes I had two if it was down, or in that 50-degree range, because the wind chill can get to your chest through the jacket. There is no insulation, so you've got to make sure you have a mid layer with you. Also, in those soaking rains, the sleeves here, at the very ends of the sleeves, there's no Gore-Tex right here, right? So the ends of the sleeve here do get saturated as well, and then of course your wrists and your gloves can get a little bit wet, from there. So as long as you make sure that you have some kind of a gauntlet glove that covers the sleeve, a rainproof gauntlet glove, I think that's the way to go. I had shorty gloves with me, or shorter gloves, so it was a little bit uncomfortable a couple of times because it was getting cold, down around my wrists. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade and get myself a good pair of waterproof gauntlets. Now, the next thing that people usually want to know is, how does a jacket like this do in the heat? Right? And for me, I did really well in the heat. I'll probably do a video on that whole process of staying hydrated and staying, you know, cool and staying comfortable in the heat. But overall, this jacket did fine for me. I rode in temperatures, you know, around, you know, 50 degrees up to 105 degrees. And again, I was comfortable the whole time. Now obviously you get warm when it gets around 100 degrees or so, but with all of the vents open on this jacket, I was able to get enough airflow through that I was staying pretty cool. As far as the color goes, as far as it being black, I don't know how much of a role that really plays in how hot the jacket is. I mean, obviously black is the color that absorbs more heat than anything else. A white jacket or a lighter colored jacket was probably going to reflect more heat away from you. But again, I was never in any jeopardy or anything like that, you know, because of the color of this jacket. However, if I had to do it over again, I think I would get a lighter colored jacket. I know that now they have the newer models, they have the Carlsbad out there that's in about the same price range as the Latitude, and it comes in some lighter gray colors. So I think I would look at those and probably try to get a lighter color. As I said previously, I have had this jacket for about 3 years now, and there are a couple of little things that are starting to wear out a little bit. And one of those is on the left sleeve here, the Velcro here. It doesn't always want to stay closed anymore. All right, the wind will constantly tear this open and I constantly have to put it back again. So I think it's getting to the point where this Velcro needs to be replaced. Again, that's kind of a minor thing, but it is one of the things that are wearing out. The other thing that I'm having a bit of a problem with as well is the zipper here. Right? I mean, it all still works quite well, but what happens is that if I'm not patient with it, right, if I take this and I really jam this in too far, then the zipper won't come up, right, and it gets bound up. So I just have to make sure that when I zip this thing up, I nice and lightly put this in, don't push it in too far, and then I can pull the zipper up nice and easy. If I get impatient and I try to jam it in there, well, then I have a little bit harder time. So to review here, overall this jacket is great, right? It is by far, the Klim series anyway, is by far the jacket of choice that we saw adventure riders and riders of all kinds wearing on this trip to Alaska. The Latitude was a very popular model, the Badlands is also a very popular model, and there was a couple of other models that we saw out there. But most of the riders out there are wearing the Klim gear. So I think that says worlds, right? Guys who are out there doing long distance riding, who are riding in all kinds of temperatures and all kinds of climates, they are using the Klim gear. And I've been extremely pleased with mine, other than those tiny little things that I just talked about, and I kind of focused on them a little bit so you guys are aware of them, but again, those are minor things. The big things like the ventilation and like the waterproofness of this jacket, those are awesome, and they make the jacket well worth the price, and it's what I'm going to keep wearing on all of my trips. All right, so let's finish off this video by talking a little bit about the pants that I wore, and that is the Klim Badlands pants. And I switched to those because I honestly like the fit better than I did the older version of the Latitude pants that I had. As I mentioned in the previous video, the Latitudes fit extremely low, and these have a little bit higher waist and are more comfortable for me. So I went with that for that. Went with these, sorry, for that reason, and also these have increased ventilation in them. While the Latitude pants do have pretty good ventilation, this is even better. There's a huge zipper here in the front that allows air in, and then of course there's a large exit vent here in the back that allows air to flow through the pant. And if you're doing a lot of standing up like we were doing when we were on the top of the World Highway, that really feels good, and it lets a lot of air again flow through the pant and helps to cool you off. They also do come with D30 CE level 2 armor in the knees, in the hips, and they do come with a couple of pockets here on the sides. I do actually like the pockets better on the Latitude because there's a little front pocket you can put stuff in. These just have the two side pockets, and while they're pretty big, they are extremely deep. It's hard to get anything in and out of there. So, you know, they're not real practical to use for anything that you need, you know, on a regular basis. The one thing that I would say that you want to be aware of is that, like the jacket, right, if it's raining out, these will get soaked. And you know, when you typically wear a pant, you may not have a mid layer on underneath these. You may have a base layer like I did with the LD Comfort tights, right? But still, that's not very insulative. So when it gets cold out and it's raining, particularly the top of your thighs, they can get, you know, wet on the outer part of this fabric, and the wind can really cool it down. So the top of your thighs can get a little bit chilly. You know, it wasn't any big thing, but it's the one complaint, if anything, I would give for these pants. I don't know what the pant is going to do about it. Basically, the answer there is to wear a heavier mid-layer. Right, so I think that's it for talking about the Klim jacket and pants. Again, overall, they work extremely, extremely well. Those tiny little things that you need to be aware of that I mentioned. But overall, again, super, super product. Both of these are available through Twisted Throttle, so I will have links to the US and Canadian sites in the description of this video, as well as links to the particular products on the US site. So as always, if you are going to purchase through Twisted Throttle, please do so by using those links. We get a little bit of kickback on those purchases, and it helps support this channel. So thanks a lot, and we'll be back for debrief number 4 before you know it.